the single greatest skill you can develop is the ability to stay in a good mood in the absence of things to be in a good mood about.
I think that tweet has been my theme for 2025. It's funny because that was the most shared tweet I've ever had. And it was almost not the opposite of ironic. It was fitting, right? It was completely fitting for the year. And it's been because like this year I've had I would say a series of unfortunate events that has occurred, and it's really tested my tools, right? Tools in the tool belt for reframing reality so that I can make my experience less, miserable. And so I thought about that. It's like if I were to boil everything down of all the skills that you can learn, if everything that we do eventually becomes irrelevant, then the single greatest skill that you can develop is being in a great mood in the absence of things to be in a great mood about. And so one of the other frames on this is most people don't question someone who's in a bad mood. Like, I'm just in a bad mood. So it's like, well, if you can be in a bad mood for no reason, it's like you might as well be in a good mood for no reason, because that one at least serves you. And so I've been trying to exercise, like, because there's on one degree, there's like, let's count things to be grateful for. On the other side, it's like, why do I have to have things to be grateful for in order to be in a good mood? Like, why is trying to find things a requirement of being in that mood? Like, can I not find things and still choose to be in a good mood? Because I've certainly not had things to be in a bad mood about and been in a bad mood. Mm-hmm. And so I've been trying to flex that, which is like, sure, we can find things to be grateful for. And when those things pop up, yes. And of course it's a practice, you get better at it. But like, what if I can just be in a good mood? And so I've just tried to break that relationship between the two, because then it makes it contingent on something that I can find.
How successful have you been at that?
Mediocre.
Well, look, I think it's a lovely idea in isolation,
sure,
in theory, but I'm not convinced about how effective it is in practice for the reason that humans have a negativity bias. It's our psychological entropy.
100%.
And your ability to detect things that are a risk to you significantly better than your ability to detect things that are just pleasant. Like this morning, I texted you and I was like, hey man, like I really love the feeling I have of anticipation on a morning before we do a podcast. That's a normal, boring, mundane source of pleasure to me.
Yeah.
If I'm not really, really training myself to notice that, it just fucking falls away with the fact that, I asked for almond milk and I bet this would have been better with like whole milk.
If that's the thing that ruins the day. And the thing is you do notice it though, right? You do notice that. So I've had, one of my themes this year has been focusing on moments and on both the positive and the negative. And so like when we think back on, if I think back on the last year, right, I don't remember probably 95% of the year. Like I did the same things. And so it's like, it just didn't get recorded. Like nothing notable happened. And so really like when we think about a year, we really just recall a handful of moments and that's it. And those moments in time are usually very short. And so I've been trying to think about the bad seasons as, well, maybe it wasn't a bad season. Maybe I had 5 bad days, or really 5 bad moments that I then thought about for the entire season and turned what would have otherwise been 5 minutes times 5 into an entirely bad year. And so it's like, okay, well, if we can do that in the negative, can we do in the positive, which is, obviously the thing to exercise. But to the point that you said earlier about our ability to detect threat and risk at such better accuracy than our ability to detect good things, it's so interesting because if you use that side of your brain, not to derail us, but like I think that has been one of the things that's helped me a tremendous amount in business. Because when I think about a business and I want to grow it, for example, I would think, okay, what are all the things that can destroy this business? And this is Charlie Munger, this isn't me. But basically he says, invert, always invert. And Einstein said that too. And it's because like you get to use this way stronger horsepower engine of like, how do I grow my business? That's you can obviously think that way, but the alternative would be like, how would I absolutely destroy this business in the fewest possible moves? And then when you list out those moves, you're like, cool, now let's do the opposite of that. Yeah. And that has been, honestly, some of the sources of my greatest kind of creative moments have come from these apparently obvious things that would kill us. Well, what if we did the even more obvious thing and did the opposite of what would destroy us? And it's worked better than I deserve.
So this is the problem.
Yeah.
you can be rewarded professionally for focusing on things that you do not want to focus on personally. And Ryan Long taught me this. He was talking about how he's a Canadian comedian, really funny guy. He spends all of this time, dialing in these bits and obsessing over how it could be better. And then he says to himself, yeah, but I don't want you to do that in your relationships. Can you let that go when it comes to the way that you show up for your partner or your friends or your body image or whatever? And you don't get to compartmentalize stuff like that. And it is a very unfortunate irony of the world that the skill set you often need to become successful in business is the one you need to get rid of to be happy in your life.
Yes. So I was thinking about what you were saying earlier with regards to risk and our ability to detect it. So the other part of that that's been really interesting is we also, not only do we detect more threats, we also overemphasize how catastrophic they could be. And the converse of that is we rarely identify the upside. And when we do, we typically underestimate the upside. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't talk about as much. Obviously, I always have a business, hat on, literally. But I think about this because I think this is where, like, you said at the very beginning that people complain because they cannot accurately view reality. And so if we tie that to this concept, then it means that people will disproportionately blame the universe and then perceive significantly greater risk for them asking a girl out, starting a business, taking a loan, asking a stranger to buy something, making a podcast, and for fear of what other people on the internet will say or people who know them, right? And so we catastrophize this side, but the flip side is, and you hear this a lot when people, do make it and whatnot. They're like, I never dreamed it would be this big. Now, some people are obsessive and like absolutely have thought through everything. I fall more on that side. But on the other hand, though, a lot of people do get there and they're like, I never thought it was going to be this big. And it's because we typically just underemphasize the upside, which is where, from the business perspective, it's like that's where the alpha is. That's where the outperformance exists, where most people think, hey, this bet, it could go to zero. And you're like, I don't think it's going to go to zero. But even if it did go to zero, I have a 10x here. And so if I have a 50% shot at a 10x and the other 50 is zero, I should take that shot every single time, knowing that I'm going to be wrong half the time. It still makes sense to take. And so I think people are not good at making those risk-adjusted return bets, obviously financially, but even in the very micro aspect of our lives. And so we talked earlier about the cosmic irrelevance and the frame of the veteran, but there's a third frame that I think about a lot, which is, I call it play it out. And so it's like, let's sit in there, because again, fear exists in the vague, not in the specific.
And in the resistance.
Yes. And so like when we have these specificities of like, okay, I'm going to start I can't start a podcast. Like, okay, it's this big vague thing, but no, like, let's play it out. Like, let's see what actually would happen. So I'm going to upload something and then people don't listen to it. Okay, well, they didn't listen to it. Okay, well, then that's not a problem. Okay, let's see tons of people listen to it, which I don't know how that magically happens, but let's say tons of people listen to it and they all hate it. Okay. Immediately you have this anxiety that we're no, but let's play it out. Like, what happens next? It's like, okay, is it going to change what I eat? Is it going to change where I sleep? Okay, let's say I all of a sudden I lose all the money that I have. It's like, okay, well, I probably have a bunch of people that if I really needed to sleep on their couch or in a spare bedroom, I could do that. Okay, so I'm not really going to be homeless. And if I really didn't have enough money for food, I can go to a homeless shelter and get food, right? So it's like, wait, so my worst case scenario is like, I have shelter and I have food and I'm still breathing air. So that's the downside. And so there's this catastrophizing that because our brains are meant to keep us alive. We literally think if we fail, we die. Like everyone will ostracize us from the group and we will be alone and die. Yep. And so just actually playing it out, not one step, but like two more steps after that, you're like, okay, so my actual downside risk is nothing, but my upside is everything I've wanted. And even if I'm at 50% off on that, it's still worth the shot.
In other news, this episode is brought to you by Momentous. If your workouts feel flat, your recovery's slow, or you've just been feeling off, it might not be your training plan or diet. It might be something a bit more boring, like your testosterone. So if you're not performing well in the gym or the bedroom, or you just want to improve your testosterone naturally, Tonkat Ali is a fantastic research-backed place to start. And when it's stacked with zinc, this can make a huge improvement in testosterone, strength, recovery, and energy, which is why I'm such a huge fan of Momentus's zinc. It supports testosterone, it boosts vitality, and helps keep everything running like it should. And if you're still unsure, Momentus offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it for 29 days, and if you don't like it, they will give you your money back. Plus, they ship internationally. Right now, you can get a 35% discount on your first subscription and that 30-day money-back guarantee by going to the link in the description below or heading to livemomentus.com/modernwisdom and using the code modernwisdom at checkout. That's livemomentus.com/modernwisdom and modern wisdom at checkout. Have you heard Ferris's idea, the world rewards the specific ask and punishes the vague wish?
I like it.
Sick.
Very
Sick.
Ferris.
And it's getting to this point here, which is fear exists in the vague and it exists in the resistance. Going back to the single greatest skill you can develop is the ability to stay in a great mood in the absence of things to be in a great mood about. There's, again, I think it's fantastic in theory. I wonder how much it works in practice. Both of us, everybody would love to be in a great mood for no reason.
Yeah.
So I guess you can perhaps try and cultivate, I can try and be positive when there's nothing to be positive about. Yeah. I would say that the other neurobiologically informed solution to this is to find increasingly small things to be increasingly happy about. So, that was a really good training session.
Yeah.
And, look, it was annoying because half of the gym's under construction and I got some dust on my shoes.
Yeah.
But, that was a good session. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Rick Hansen, who wrote Hardwiring Happiness, is 25 years old, hardcore neuroscience guy, Dharma teacher, meditation expert, life person. Fucking awesome intersection of it all. And he has this wonderful acronym of HEAL. Have a positive experience. Enrich it. And by enrich it, he means sort of sit with it. So you allow it to, you actually notice it.
Yeah.
Absorb, which is imagine that sinking down and becoming a part of you. And then the L is optional, which is link. So you can link it to a bad experience and you can oscillate between the two to help bring down the volume of a bad experience. So right now, there's nothing else I want to be doing right now than having this conversation.
Yeah.
Having a good experience. But that just washes by you. And then you think in retrospect, oh, wasn't that was like a good thing at the time? But you don't ever actually arrive at having a good experience.
Yeah.
So the enrich bit's important. So I'm like, this is cool. Like, I'm enjoying having this conversation. Absorb, imagining it sinking down and becoming a part of you, which is basically spending 30 seconds to a minute, letting that emotion sort of fill you out as opposed to noticing it cognitively. Like allowing it to go below the neck would be a good way to put it. Okay, this is going to go below the neck, this sensation. I'm actually, like, people are going to watch this and it's going to make them happy. It's going to give them insights about their life. And isn't that lovely? It's the most obvious thing, which is, I mean, this is a pretty grand thing as things go. It's certainly more grand than like, I had a fucking nice coffee or something like that. So I wonder whether one of the skills that you can develop in the pursuit of becoming a person that's in a great mood in the absence of things to be in a great mood about is to become increasingly proficient at finding things to be in a great mood about. And I'm aware that in your frame, that still makes it contingent on external, which is going to be an issue.
I'm still happy to be in a good mood when there is things to be a good mood about, for sure.
If you can become increasingly skilled at finding things to be in a good mood about, I get the sense, especially if life's kicking you in the dick, which it's done to both of us for the last while. And I also think that it's an interesting comment, realization from you, given that you've been kicked in the dick, because you think, this is an insight that you will only learn when things aren't ostensibly going well.
Yeah.
Because it's the sort of realization that you get when inertia and momentum and bravado and confidence and upward trajectory are all taken away from you. And you go, I'm having to do the budgeting equivalent, like the mental equivalent of living on pennies from a well-being perspective.
I want to say we talked about this 4 podcasts ago, this specific thing, which was that I have this, maybe it's sadistic, is the right word, but like I do take some sadistic pleasure in, or masochist, I don't remember the word is, but when you enjoy your own pain. Whenever I have these prolonged moments of suffering that kind of break past what I would consider the normal variance of life, right? It's like, this broke through the barrier of shitty. I do have this history of having significantly larger improvements that happen post dip, right? So it's like we kind of get the opportunity to buy the dip for our own negative consequences. And I've bought the dip at almost every time, and it's rewarded me disproportionately. And so I hate to make a parallel between the economy or the stock market and your own internal happiness, but I think that's what's happening right now. But that thought process has shortened some of the shittiness that happens, because then it's like, okay, well, it has to be worth it, right? I have to make this worth it, right? Because this sucks. So what can I learn from this? What can I be better from this as a result? And so obviously there's things that I've been working on in order to improve. But beyond that, because gratitude has been so difficult for me, which I've talked about before. Like I've never once said I am the champion of happiness, but in an effort to try and make it easier for me, I was like, well, how do you operationalize gratitude, right? And so the simplest way that I have is imagine something terrible, and then remember that has not happened. Like it's like I've yet to find, like, that has been the simplest way. Like, be grateful. It's like, what do I do to be grateful?
Yep.
Like, no, like that more. And it's like that it's like it's been difficult. So it's like, okay, and on the flip side, imagine something that you love, imagine it's gone, and then remember that it's back again. And so that's, I think, the operationalizing of those moments, which is, I have this coffee moment. Man, if I never had another coffee moment like this again, this would mean more to me. Okay. And by doing that, and by remembering what it would be like to not have this, then this thing now in the moment becomes worth more. And so it's basically creating a wider discrepancy between the moment we're trying to find gratitude with and something else, in order to basically manufacture a delta. Because I think that to your point, like, we're so much more sensitive to the negative delta than we are on the positive delta, that we have to make the positive delta massive. And so how do you make moments massive? It's like, well, then we just have to drop the floor out, and then remember that now all of a sudden we went from the bottom of the pool back to the surface, even though we're not above the water.
It's like playing pretend. So
It's 100% playing pretend. Yeah. All gratitude is playing pretend.
I'm not sure. I think if something happens and you're grateful for it, that's you enriching something that exists. But what we're doing,
what is enriching, mate?
Really noticing it, because things that you should be grateful for will often pass you by without you noticing them.
So we noticed them originally, and then we noticed that we noticed them.
Do you notice them?
Oh, I know. I have to remember to be grateful, and then I have to go look for shit.
Yeah. Yes. But even as it happens, right? And this is the point. As it happens, I'm here. I went to Rufus du Sol at Q2 Stadium in Austin, which is where the football club plays, and Rufus du Sol, great music, real cool, and with a ton of my best friends. It's finishing at a time that's not insane. The weather was lovely.
But by 6.
Yeah. I was in bed by 7:30. But it wasn't that loud. The sound wasn't that good. Okay. Well, everybody was like, wish it was louder. Wish it was loud, because it wasn't. We were at the very back of the stadium, beautiful view, but not fantastic for sound. You go, dude. You're watching fucking Rufus du Sol in a stadium with your friends in Austin. Weather's great. Everyone's got a beer or a sparkling water in their hand, having a great time. This is something that you can notice in the moment. You have pick your direction, Western man.
Yeah.
And you are picking the sound's not good.
Yeah.
But in your business, you are rewarded over and over and over again for realizing that the sound's not good. I've done this before.
Yeah.
Are you zoomed? Can you do this? So if you look very, very closely here, I might even have to get out of the way for the light. The alignment of the Instagram logo with the F from follow us here and the N from Newtonic below is out of alignment by what looks like 1 point. It's less than a millimeter. Guess who noticed? This guy. I have been rewarded throughout my entire professional career for noticing things that other people didn't, and then claiming that they were a sufficiently big issue that we should actually change them.
Yeah. Reverse gratitude. It's like,
and yet,
this is a small thing. It is now a big
It's a massive problem, because you win in the weeds.
Yeah.
But you don't win in the weeds when it comes to happiness, unless you are doing it in the other direction.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to, and this is so hard. And this is,
This is why we enjoy talking about it, because just for everyone who's listening, Chris and I had a conversation prior to this, being like, what are you thinking about right now? And so we're both actually like in the same vein of thought, which is why both of us were looking forward to having this, conversation with you guys.
Yes.
About this difficulty, because one of the other things that's come up with regards to gratitude and happiness has been, there's a second conversation that I think happens internally, at least for me, which is that like I will judge myself on being not as happy as I should be, or not like, hey, I didn't notice anything I'd be grateful about. You fuck. Right? And so trying to separate the fact that I like to take this to the absolute extreme. Why should I be grateful? Why should I be happy? Why do I demand of my life that it must be happy? Like that I must be happy during it. That's a demand. And so I try to decrease my demands in general as a habit, as a personal practice. And so I've been thinking about that concept in and of itself, because the earliest part of my career, I just was done with happiness. I was like,
disregarded.
Screw it. Yeah, it's just like, it's irrelevant. And so now I'm getting to the point where like, well, it would be nice to also have this while I have all these other things.
I'm aware that this is a very sort of basic bitch insight, but I do think that given the starting point that you were at, and to a lesser degree the starting point I was at, is like a Hormozi light like lifestyle approach. That's a big deal to make this pivot, and I think it's one of the reasons I was particularly interested in talking to you today, because I would say the last 3 years or so since we've been recording together.
Yeah.
From a architecture perspective, it's largely been the same.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter how you feel. The hard work just needs doing. Hard things are hard. That's why they're hard. And disregard the emotions that are getting in the way of it. And I do think that works for a good while, and it can really propel you to great things. But I also think that sometimes you have such a orthogonal change in the way that your life's put together, where you go, I might have exhausted this fuel source. I might need to switch from booster rockets to something else.
Yeah.
And you've got, as you said earlier on, about how you take small bad moments, maybe very impressive bad moments, and then you scale